Oh, it's not morning. Good afternoon. It's Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Yes, it is. It's a beautiful Friday morning here. Yes. Hi, Maressa. So happy to have you. Let me see. I'm going to light my surviving Mercury retrograde candle. Ah, look at that. Okay. Let's see. How do I'm going to invite you to join. There you are. Welcome, everyone. Come on in. Marissa, I invited you to join the live, so hopefully you saw that. If not, push the plus button at the bottom with the little video. Okay. How is everyone today? Hello, Nota Coy and Wings Astrology and everyone. Hi, Ashley. There you
I'm
are.
here. Oh my goodness.
Hi, how are you?
Technical difficulties galore.
Well, this is perfect timing to be talking about Mercury and
Yep.
technical difficulties. Mercury it's in the shadow, in the shadow.
Oh, it sure is. I've just been saying, I'll just talk about it. That's what we gotta do.
Hmm.
Just use it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Celeste. This is
Of course.
wonderful. I love hanging out with you and chatting all things astro. My name is Maressa Brown. I am an astrologer, an author, and a journalist. I'm the author of the new book, Mercury Magic: How to Thrive During Retrogrades. There it is. And tap into the power of the messenger planet all year long. It came out on July 9th, so I'm super psyched to discuss that with you, Celeste, and also all things Mercury.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so happy we're talking about this. And today is such a perfect day because Mercury went into Virgo
Oh,
yesterday.
right, and we planned for that.
Yes, we did. We did. And it's going retrograde on August 4th.
Or 5th,
So 20.
right?
Mhm.
Depend. I've been saying 4th or 5th.
Yeah. And we're already seeing things because one of the things I was so interested to see is like, how is this going to show up at the Olympics? And
Mm.
speculating on that. But now we know there was an arson attack on the Paris metro. Thankfully, no one was hurt. But so it's bringing the delays part of Mercury retrograde, the travel. There are obstacles you have to go around. Yeah. So what are some things you think people should be looking at? Well, maybe we should start talking about Mercury. What is Mercury? What does it
Sure.
mean in the chart? What would you like to share?
You're totally like touching on something. I was just gonna mention like just quickly, and then we should dive into that. Just to back up a moment, just like the vibe feels so frenetic right now, and I think that is the effect of Mercury going retrograde in a sign it rules, like a very overthinking. I can say that because I'm a Mercury and Virgo native. It's just it feels like even though we talk about Mercury retrograde being about slowing down, I think especially as it's stationing or moving into a stationing retrograde or direct, the vibe gets so frenetic. And so one of the things like you're mentioning, current events, one of the things I'm noticing is it's mostly, in my opinion, a very positive thing, like seeing the hype around Kamala and like just how much information overload. I mean, that's Jupiter and Gemini, obviously, as
Yeah.
well. But it feels like it's also a result of Mercury going into Virgo and then about to go retrograde in Virgo. It's like more information.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
It's very,
Mercury is a
yeah.
planet of
Yeah.
information and communication, transportation, and technology. The messenger planet.
Yeah. And it rules commerce too.
Yes.
Stuff around commerce.
I
Yeah.
remember talking to you about an important purchase I wanted to make last year, and you said, better wait not only for Venus to go direct, but Mercury too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so it's not a great time right now to be investing in some big things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
However, good time to talk about what you're doing overall, like looking back at what you've been doing and maybe reassessing it.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I actually was doing with my sister and a good friend yesterday. We were having a money chat just to
Ah,
kind of take stock of where we're at and where we want to go from here. It was very Virgoing.
I love that. Yeah, because Mercury's at home in Virgo and Gemini, where it can do its work with ease. And how would you delineate the difference between Mercury and Virgo versus Mercury and Gemini?
Oh, that's a good question. I love that question. I have a lot of Gemini, mostly girlfriends, I will say. Some male friends with Gemini placements, but because my North Node is in Gemini, I really connect with Gemini women, and in the industry of journalism and writing, there's a lot of us Mercury people as well. I feel like Gemini wants to gather all the information from all the angles, no matter what. It's like their mission, their wiring. Virgo tends to be a little more specific about this is what I'm looking for. In fact, almost to a fault at times, I will say, like, this is the exact detail that I need to get, for my
Yeah.
research. And so there's a difference.
Yeah,
There's one of many.
that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, Virgo is so specific. Yeah, it can borderline on even like controlling. But I feel like both energies, Mercury and Virgo and Gemini, both are really witty. But the Gemini is like wit is easier to catch on to. It's like, yeah.
It's a little, yeah, a little faster, a little buzzier, a little more on the surface,
Yeah.
I guess, bubbly. But Virgo, I mean, people I think underestimate how chit chatty we are. Like, we have this rep for being shy. I mean, I know with me it's a little bit of a mixed bag because I'm a very outgoing Leo person as well. But I do think even when you find just like a very straightforward Virgo in person, we'll talk your ear off.
Mhm. Three?
What was that?
What's your big three?
Oh, so my sun is Virgo, my moon is Virgo, my rising is Leo.
Ah, okay. So you've got that combination. I love Virgo and Leo together. 'Cause, yeah,
Aw,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
maybe that's all me. But I have
Mhm.
a Sag stellium as well, so
Ah, okay. Oh, so you have a Sag stellium, but you have your South Node in Sag. So that could be, do you have a hard time getting out of your South Node sometimes?
it's yeah. I guess I could. I guess that's true. I think ever since I like realized my North Node is Gemini, I've been feeling like I'm on track. Like I'm on track.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
in the
good.
11th, so I'm writing. And really trying to connect with a bigger audience, the 11th house, the community, build that community. So um, yeah, maybe not really is the
Okay.
answer.
Good, good, good. Yeah, but it's something to, yeah, because my South Node's in Virgo, and sometimes I
Oh,
have a hard time getting out of it. Well, maybe because I have Pluto there too. So,
uh, that
so
that
maybe
makes sense.
harder.
Also, North Node in Pisces is a little nebulous, I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my sister has that as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give her some guidance on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's Pisces, right? It's nebulous. So I'm like, maybe lean into your spiritual side. She's very pragmatic Capricorn type and Aquarius. So that's very foreign territory to her. It's interesting. My mother is a sun in Pisces, Mars and rising in Sag.
Ah.
So my sister got the Pisces with her North Node. I got the South Node, and it's always I love looking at the echoes,
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I love,
in family.
yeah, that could be so much fun. Yeah. Yeah. So why don't you explain to people what Mercury retrograde is? Because we're getting ready to come up. Well, we're in the shadow. So
We're in the shadow. Yeah, I can explain what that is too. So you hear, oh, Mercury retro. One of the big things with my book, that I really want to emphasize is this is the antidote to all that fear mongering that you hear. Pretty much, if you've heard anything about Mercury retrograde, it's your life is going to implode and, all hell is breaking loose and you're going to have headaches upon headaches for weeks and weeks. And then people are always like, but Mercury is always retrograde. Well, it does happen quite frequently, right? So it happens 3 to 4 times a year for 3 weeks at a time, technically. But it's not like the planet just all of a sudden, boop, it's retrograde. It doesn't just do that like that. It has to begin to slow down in order to go retrograde. And then it needs to get back up to full speed afterward. So we have this lead in period and the lead out phase as well, which are the shadow periods. And in the shadow that we're in right now, the pre-shadow, we're getting like a sneak peek of what we can expect during the actual Mercury retrograde, which, as we said, is August 4th or 5th, depending on your time zone, to August 28th. So pretty much all of August. And the book is really trying to help people understand it's just like anything in astrology. It's not all good or all bad. Quite often I'll be asked, I'll mention something like Mercury retrograde or a full moon or Jupiter going into a new sign or something like that. And the question is that bad?
Mm.
Like, no, it's not black and white like that. It's very nuanced. And it's just so interesting. You had posted something about a sextile and I forget exactly what the event was, but it was yesterday or the other
Yeah.
day. And it was like something it was kind of like bad news that was related to an aspect that we tend to think of as friendly. So there's so many variables with any transit,
Mm-hmm.
and also how it's affecting you personally, how it's hitting your chart, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to look at that as well as they move through the book. Like, for instance, with Mercury going retrograde in Virgo and backing up into Leo, you'll want to see where that is in your chart. What house those signs rule, and get a sense of what area of life is this going to be affecting. Maybe this is the type of, if it's your 5th house, maybe this is the type of Mercury retrograde where you are going to hear from exes because the 5th house is romance. But not every Mercury retrograde functions that way, and not every Mercury retrograde is going to bring. I will say, it's pretty inevitable you're going to have some headaches,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I think
retrogrades are an affliction. So, yeah, because the planet wants to be moving in forward motion. It's an optical illusion where it's appearing to go backwards
yes.
through the zodiac. But I find that, and it can bring delays, and somebody said they're already seeing all of the delays and travel problems. I think it's going to be a little exacerbated because Mars and Jupiter are. Okay, let's hope this works. Okay. We're talking about Mercury retrograde. Mercury's going retrograde. I have never had that happen before where. Hi. That was something. Okay, we've got Maressa back. Okay. Yes, how perfect. How perfect to have tech issues.
I cannot. See, I was just gonna say, like, one of my tricks, and I'm sure I bring this up in the book, is you gotta have a sense of humor.
You do. Yes. Well, okay. And so Mars is in Gemini. I was just talking about Sun sextile Mars and Gemini. And Gemini likes to do things twice. And Mars, like the communication was just cut off.
Goodbye.
But we're back and we're talking about Mercury magic. Uh, how to thrive during retrogrades and tap into the power of the messenger planet all year long with Maressa Brown. So we were just getting ready to start talking about retrogrades and how they are an affliction and they can bring delays, reversals, the collapse of anything contemplated. So
Oh,
like
jeez.
collapse, hello, just the communication got cut off. So a great time to a great time to get to your appointments early, double check the time schedule. What other advice do you have for people to thrive through this period?
Yeah, tie up, focus on, what loose ends can I tie up. I mean, we are so full. One of the points I make in the book, and often when I write about Mercury retrograde, is that I feel like there's maybe never been a time in human history where we've been so focused on go, 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 go.
Mhm.
It's like, let's get to the next thing, productivity, hustle culture, right? And so, and our reliance on technology, which is also Mercury. So, but you can't, like, these retrograde periods are reminders that you cannot move forward without taking a few steps backward at times. So, um, we all have stuff that we have just not finished, or, connections that we haven't followed up on in some time, perhaps, that could be productive. So taking a few steps backward can be, like, it can be actually very productive
Mhm.
during Mercury retrograde. And I also love, and I've been trying to emphasize, this is another, like, silver lining thing. Retrograde, some of the recent retrogrades have actually been falling at times that are conducive to slowing down and taking steps backward. Like August, you think of that as, like, this is the prime time that people take summer vacation, even if you're just doing a staycation, like, take some time off of work and really soak up this, like, really, warm and sunny and family oriented time of year. And we had one around the holidays at the end of 2023 that was also, like, I said, oh, well, look at that, like, this is a time when people want to take time off of work, take walks down memory lane with their loved ones, so it if you can think of it in that way, it's a lot of reframing. All the re words, right, are
Yeah.
appropriate during Mercury retrograde. Revise, reflect, and I like reframe. Think about it in a different way. How can this actually be advantageous for you?
I love the thing I love about Mercury retrogrades is I'm always finding like little errors and things need to be fixed when you're reviewing them.
Yep.
So like I'll find a spelling mistake on my website or something like that, even though I reviewed it 10 times before I posted it. So yeah, things notice the things that come to your attention that need to be fixed. They may be related to Virgo, or Leo type things. But that's one of the benefits of this. And it's like, yeah, it's like a time to like lighten your schedule, slow down. Yeah, I think that's one of the good things about Mercury retrogrades to keep in
Yeah.
mind. Mm.
And yeah, like, spend time with people who you haven't spent time with in a while, catch up. I think it's again, the fear mongering kind of perspective on it is, you're going to hear from these people you don't want to hear from, or, but you can, but the other side of that is, you can spend time with people who, you've just been too busy to catch up with, or maybe you find that you just spontaneously reconnect with, somebody who you, wow, from a past life, and you have a wonderful time, um, you know,
Yeah, I
getting each other
love
back up to speed.
when you run into people or get phone calls from people you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
That's always a great thing that happens when Mercury retrogrades. Yeah, or
I,
just take the initiative to call someone who you haven't seen. Yeah.
I think that will be especially prominent theme for this one,
Hmm.
because I think of Virgo as very social, and super communicator, as a Mercury ruled sign. And then also, Leo also loves to, spend time with loved ones and have a wide friend group.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, the growing intuitive said we just gave them an aha about how they can be intentional about where this retrograde falls in their chart, and how they can
Yes.
choose to use it. Yes, look at that house and think
Oh,
about
that's wonderful.
what you can do that, yeah, you're
Get my
okay.
book.
Yeah, yes, of course. Of course, get the book about Mercury.
It's got lots of tips about how to do that. So,
Yeah.
and then, I even wrote this like bonus chapter, a little mini guide
Uh-huh.
that was a special offer for pre-order people, but I'm figuring out ways to get that out there to others as well. But that has a lot of like exercises and journal prompts and other things that you can do, like more active things you can do on the page to use Mercury retrograde.
Oh,
And
why don't you give us a couple journal prompts?
oh, well, I think mainly are tied to which house that you're having retrograde
Okay, so
in.
well, let's do that. What about the first
The
house? If you're a Virgo rising and Mercury's going retrograde in your first house,
Yeah, it's about, well, I can't tell you verbatim off the top of my
no,
head,
just
but it's some,
general.
absolutely Virgo.
Uh-huh.
Verbatim. Focusing on like, what is my self-image? How do I want to nurture that? Like, what is my purpose? How can I bring my passion projects into the world and perhaps zhuzh my personal brand? That's the
Uh-huh.
journal prompt for that one.
Okay, rethinking how you present yourself to the world and
Mm-hmm.
what your soul is rising to in this lifetime in order to give. Okay. And in the second house, I would, yeah, reframing your finances, would you
Reframing
say?
finances, self-worth, values, reconnecting with those themes, right? Like and connecting the dots between how does my self-worth and how do my values reflect in my earning strategy.
Mm, okay. And how about the third house?
Well, I always like kind of feel like apologetic to people having retrograde in their third
Because
because
that could be really, yeah.
they're feeling it in that very, I think, in your face kind of way, because the third house, of course, is communication, transport, short distance travel, um, and just those very obvious, more obvious things, that where we experience Mercury retrograde in that hands-on way, come more
Yeah.
concrete way.
Yeah.
But also third house themes, I think, are like about, how are you communicating with others? How are you kind of getting yourself around in the world from point A to point B and like filling your schedule? I mean, sixth house is kind of routine, but like this is like what are you saying yes to? Like, what can you streamline perhaps, to feel a little more focused and centered in those areas of your life.
Yeah, and if you have anything, it's a great time to like get your oil changed or do any car maintenance. Yeah,
Back
not buying
up your
electronics.
computer.
Huh?
Back
Back
up
up
your
your
elect.
computer, third house. Be ready for technical glitches if Mercury's going retrograde in your third house, which is for me, my third house. I'm Virgo on the
Oh
third
no!
house cusp.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Celeste.
I know, yes. So it's going to be a lot of little things potentially.
We just went through it.
Yeah.
We're fine. We bounced
Yep,
back.
yep.
That's the
Exactly.
thing.
Yes. Yeah.
It could help to think of how the third house is associated with Gemini, right? Like Gemini doesn't get to one of my girlfriends who's got some Gemini in her chart. One of the things she says that I love is it's not that deep, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
So you
Yeah.
can just kind of like, okay, that happened, on to the next thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, what about fourth house?
Oh, well, that's home life, inner life, right? Emotional well-being. I think it's a wonderful time to do some self-work around like sense of security and perhaps generational trauma stuff, with your family, revisiting conversations with loved ones where you never got to a resolution perhaps, but now there may be a chance that you can really figure that out. How do we heal moving forward?
Mm, I love that. Yeah. What about the fifth
Fifth
house?
house, we were touching on that a little bit. So it's, romance and self expression, children, fun. I just love the fifth house so much. And I would say, like, kind of reassess your relationship to those themes. Like, are you putting joy and spontaneity and creativity on the back burner? How are you doing that? How are you allowing that to happen? Or how can you better prioritize those things in your life, because we all deserve them, but we often do just set them aside because we're like, gotta work, 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 work,
Yeah.
and do life's duties,
Yeah. I think it's a good time to reconsider how you and your children speak to each other.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
love that. Ooh,
Yeah.
very
Rec-
raising baby themed.
yeah.
My first book.
Recognizing patterns about your communication and how you can work on things. And somebody may bring up something to the past. Yeah, your child may bring up something from the past, or you with your parents. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
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 And also kind of owning your creative voice. I think of that as fifth house as well. How can you better do that? How can you connect even more with your artistic impulses?
Yeah. And reconsider your flirting game.
Ooh, I like that too.
I just got some homework. I'm supposed to be flirting more, so even though it's not my fifth house, I'll think about that.
All the Leo energy should certainly help with that, I would think.
Yes, yes. What about six?
Six, yeah, so kind of similar to the third in that it's about, your kind of daily experience. But it's also health, right? Pets. If I would say that if you have it happening in your sixth house, this is the time when you might want to make sure you get the pets to the vet and take care of those the little things. It's the little things. It's the Virgo and things, the minutia of everyday life that we tend to think is kind of boring, but actually, I don't know if I forget if I put this in Mercury Magic or if it's something I just say as a Virgo in person. That without those little details, without the minutia of everyday life, nothing gets done. So you got to get clear on how you're managing those things and maybe streamlining them a bit when Mercury is retrograde there.
Yeah, it's a great time. Like if you've been thinking about implementing like some kind of task management system, to taking the time to slow down, like I use Asana, and like get yourself organized, like reviewing from the past, not necessarily starting something new. Yeah, I think this can be great. And there's a question
I like
here.
this
Let's
question.
pause for a question. What happens when what does it mean when you're born with Mercury retrograde?
I love that question. So I'm a Mercury retrograde natal person.
Me too.
Oh, you are? Oh, I love that. Yeah, I tend to we find each other. So we can both speak to this from personal experience, but the way I talk about it in the book is, you have kind of like a unique perspective. Like Mercury isn't just only how we communicate, it's how we think. So we have a kind of a unique, against the grain kind of like take on things. And sometimes you feel like we might second guess ourselves, especially with Mercury in Virgo retrograde. So there's like, did I phrase that right? Did I use the right word? Should I have, was my tone right? Because it's almost like we're speaking a little bit of a different language than people with Mercury direct, natally. What would you say, Celeste?
Yeah. And that sometimes it can be hard for our loved ones to know what we're thinking because we're so internal. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good reminder to speak up if there's something bothering you or something's going on, because they can't read your mind and they may not realize what's going on within you. Yeah, it can give you a little bit of a mysterious thing about how you communicate.
Like that. Another thing I say in the book about Mercury retrograde natal too is that it's a superpower because you're born with that. It's one of your little life lessons in your chart. It's something to work on, communication, speaking up, as you just said. And because you're doing that as part of your life's work, you'll be better equipped to teach other people about how to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Opening your throat chakra. Yeah. I think that could be something that just came to me.
Like that.
Yeah. That's something I'm working on too.
What sign is your Mercury in?
I'm Taurus, Mercury in Taurus.
What I
Mercury
thought.
retrograde in Taurus, trine Pluto.
It's your power. See, it is your superpower.
I am an investigative journalist.
I
Writing
love
the
that.
pre-news. as an astrologer. That's
Yes,
my
that
thing.
really that really illustrates, how you cover certain like current events and talk about those things and point out just how I love how you point out just how literal astrology is.
It's so literal. It's so literal. Yes.
That's so Taurus. Oh my gosh, that's so Taurus.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, the seventh house. This is one, if you've got Virgo on the seventh, which would mean you're a Pisces rising, really important to be aware of because it's the
Yeah.
partnership.
Right. Right. So yeah, so if you're having the retrograde there, I would say, you want to think about I love pointing out the relationship between, like you just said, the first house and the seventh house. That, looking at the axis that the house is on is important no matter what. But I just feel like I always bring up the first and seventh. When I bring up the seventh, I bring up the first and vice versa quite often because it's just so obvious that our relationships with others are dependent on our relationship with ourself, which is
Mm-hmm.
first,
Mm-hmm.
so I think when you have the retrograde in the seventh, it's about doing self-reflection around your role in your one-on-one relationships. What are you responsible for? Is there reciprocity within your bonds, or does something need to change perhaps so that there might be more reciprocity?
I love that. Yeah, really thinking about how you and your partner communicate. It is an open communication, and yeah.
Yeah.
And watch out for being critical or overly critical with this Mercury retrograde in Virgo.
Or like the juxtaposition of the Pisces and the Virgo. I have this happening in my own personal life at the moment, with my Pisces mom. The perception of being, like you might not, especially as a Virgo type person or dealing with Virgo and energy, you might not feel that you're being critical. You might just think you're being factual or
Mhm.
expressing yourself, working with that throat chakra and speaking up, and saying what you need, but someone else is perceiving it as overly critical. So
Mhm.
trying to find the balance in that and the harmony, it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So Intrepid now has Mercury in Leo retrograde natally and feels more comfortable in the
I
retrograde.
like
Yeah.
that. Yes, I also say in the book, and I have noticed with myself that my writing tends to flow more readily perhaps during retrogrades. You can, it feels like you can get into a flow a little bit more, I think, and sometimes articulate yourself better than you might when Mercury is direct, because the energy is in tune with, the way
Mm.
that you're wired natally.
Okay, I'll try to notice that for
Yeah.
myself because I think because I have two Virgo and two Gemini placements, Mercury retrogrades can be a little tricky for me. But I'll see if I'm writing better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or like, and
or
maybe it's
easier.
about going back to old projects, and seeing if those flow better.
Hmm. Oh, lucky you, Yvonne, has a sun in fifth house, Leo planets. I think that sounds like a nice chart.
Yeah, very
Leo in the fifth.
nice.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so she's got the retrograde after August 15th. It's going to be going back into Leo.
Hmm.
So, no,
Yeah.
14th, right?
I think it's the 14th. It's the day.
What did
It's going
I
to be a
say?
little wild when
Yes.
Mercury. We're going to have an event, like see events when Mercury goes back into Leo because it's the same day as the Mars Jupiter in Gemini
I
conjunction.
just
So
wrote about that. I was
it's
like,
going to
oh
be
boy.
it's going to be explosive energy. Yeah. Yeah. So watch your temper around that time. Yeah. It's a good thing to think about.
Good time
Because like
to,
Virgo, see, so Virgo counts. So Virgo's like keeping track of all this stuff and what could happen if it's not being spoken when it goes back into Leo with that Mars Jupiter. There could just be this big outburst of like yelling at your partner, yelling at your kids, or just getting like or someone says something critical and the other person just like loses it. Yeah, so just be
Oh
mindful that
no.
right around the 14th, the mid August is like a combustible time period.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we got that Jupiter Saturn square at the same time. Ugh, I'm a little worried about the stock
Oh
market.
no. Oh
Little
no.
hiccups there, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
But
about
one of the positive things I was saying about the Mars Jupiter, I'm curious if you agree, Celeste, is like that it can really amplify your courage, your drive, especially in terms of high mental energy undertakings, because it is in Gemini. Of course, with the Mercury retrograde, that's compromising that a little
yeah?
bit, but I still think like if you come at it that way, you've got this like fiery thing going on, you might lose your temper like you said, you're feeling edgy.
Mhm.
Maybe like try to lean into a workout or a road trip or something Gemini and very active.
I love that. Yeah, journaling. This is a great time to be doing journaling. Yeah. But so far, the Mars Jupiter has been so much fun, like watching the shift in the energy with Kamala Harris's campaign and all the enthusiasm and
Yes.
people they're getting orders of what they're going to do, or yeah, and then they're going to be going out and talking about it and like
Totally.
yeah. Yeah, so this has been like the fun part of it.
So
Yeah.
fun, like seeing people
Excited
gather
and
and
enthusiastic.
excited. Oh, I saw somebody wrote a comment on a post that made me like kind of get teary, but it was so spot on. It was so simple, but so spot on. It was um it's good to feel good again.
Feel good, feel hopeful, feel positive. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my God, I love
Right?
that. Yeah. And I
Oh,
am loving Kamala's meme game. Whoever does her social media
my God,
is
so Jupiter and Gemini, right? And Mars and Gemini.
so on point. It's quick, incisive, the delivery, the statements. Yeah, we're really seeing it. The let's go. Look at
And
let's go.
fun.
It's such a Mars, Jupiter and Gemini placement.
Totally. And it's like got that kind of youthful wink wink, kind of like
Mhm.
fun and witty vibe, like the whole brat thing, the whole coconut tree thing. It's like
Mars, Jupiter, and Gemini. It's like a bratty little kid.
oh my gosh, my dad has Mars Uranus conjunct in Gemini in his
Oh my
fifth.
God. Can he sit down?
It's so funny. It's like I always used to think about because he has a Capricorn rising as well, and so I
Oh,
was always like, "Wow, he's getting like more energetic as he gets older." So that's kind of like a Cap
yeah.
thing that they age backwards.
Yes.
So I think he has that, but then he also this yeah. Then I've more recently been thinking about this conjunction as well for him, and it maybe because it's in the fifth, it's kind of like he is getting more youthful and like energetic as he gets older. I'm like, okay, Dad.
Oh,
Like I can't
fun.
keep up with you. you know.
That's so fun. Oh, let's do the eighth house.
Oh, eighth house. Yeah. Yes. Oh well. Get up in these houses. It's a little more complex, but eighth house is emotional bonds, intimacy, joint resources, sex. So really like looking at any self work and revisiting anything around those topics um, that you need to touch base with, perhaps a significant other or a loved one. You can reassess your portfolio that you share with somebody. Um, and I like the sex element of it to think about like, well, are my desires being fulfilled? Am I expressing my needs properly? Like, how can I better do that?
Yes, I love that. And also be aware some shadow energies may be coming up to your attention from the past. Like you find yourself thinking about the past and what you said here or what you did there, or in fact, some of your desires you'd rather disown. It's like they're coming up for you for reflection and maybe to integrate like some self-acceptance as I'm getting
Oh,
with
I love
that.
that,
Yeah.
especially with Virgo.
Mhm.
Virgo is like that's something I wish we talked about more. Is that when often when I talk about Virgo and we're where we get crap for being critical, that is often coming from a place of a lack of self-acceptance and self-criticism. It's
Mm-hmm.
projection
Mm-hmm.
more often than not. So Virgo energy reminds us to be aware of that,
Yeah.
and maybe, work on healing your own stuff before you come at somebody else about theirs.
I like that. Yes, yes. Oh, Yvonne's asking if houses are empty. So if a house is empty, you look at what sign is on the cusp, and so you look at what the ruling planet of that sign is, what it's doing in your chart. So say you have a house with Virgo on the cusp, you look to see where Mercury is, and that describes that house for you in your natal chart and what Mercury's doing in your chart. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
And also,
it's no,
as far as transits go,
yeah,
it's not technically going to be empty. You're going to have stuff moving through those houses,
yeah.
as they're transiting through. So you might have a house, no placements in your house, which is ruled by Virgo, but it's going to have Mercury transiting through there now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every month the moon transits through each of the houses, so you always get that little burst, and then yeah, and then all of the planets come in. That energy comes in, yeah, with the transits. What about ninth house? Uh-oh, long distance travel.
Long distance travel, and actually when you say uh-oh, what goes off for me is it's publishing also. But the positive, the Mercury magic spin on that is, you can visit places you've already been to, perhaps, if you're going to want to take a vacation.
Hmm.
I have a friend, a Gemini girlfriend, who she seems to always travel during Mercury retrograde, and she loves it. She
Hmm.
seems to think that it's like, one of the best times for her, actually. Maybe because, not necessarily because she's revisiting places that she loves from the past, although that is a good way to manage it, I think. Especially in August, if you've got like family vacations, you've got a spot you always love to go to. But also because I think, the energy is to slow down. And if she's traveling with her husband, for instance, it's not about this go, go, go thing for them. It's about reconnecting and whatever. So, just kind of, again, reframing how you're thinking
Yeah,
about travel, not necessarily saying I can't, but being aware there could be delays.
yeah,
Your plans could be, come together in a way that you didn't anticipate. And then also it's higher learning, right? And philosophy and all these Jupiterian themes. So you could be brushing up on a skill set that you previously set aside and haven't worked with for a while, or reconnecting with a mentor.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, or an old teacher. Yes, I had. It was just wild. This was last year. I went on a trip during Mercury retrograde, and there was one day we were in New York City where some of the group, it was a group of friends, some got confused about where we were meeting, and they went to like 40th Street West rather than
Oh
East or something like that. Like there was
no.
like some little hiccup like that delayed them to get to the restaurant. And then there was a point where I was going to take the elevated. I wanted to walk on the High Line, and the entrance to the High Line I wanted to go to was closed. So I couldn't get up that way. So
Uh,
that delayed me. I had to take a detour. And then there was something with a bill. So pay attention if you're on vacation during Mercury retrograde or anything, really check your receipts because it rules commerce and
yes.
there could be something wrong with your receipt, or you may find that a tip was added unexpectedly or something like that. You go to some restaurant where they've decided to add tips without, making it clear they're doing that. So just pay extra attention to
Yes.
that,
And
especially
like
if it's in
travel
your ninth
details
house.
too, right?
Mhm.
I don't know, just making sure that all your ducks are in a row with your reservation for your flight, or
Mhm.
how you're getting to point A, to
Yeah.
point B from point
Yeah.
A.
And Delta's still having problems from that CrowdStrike outage. So yeah, people on Delta
Boy.
may be
That
having.
was like the first, that was like, hello, Shadow.
Yeah,
We
yes,
are in it.
yes, yeah. Now, what about the 10th house?
10th house is career and public image, right? So I've been talking about it in terms of maybe taking a step back and thinking about, how do I really want to make my mark in the world, and in my professional path, and how can I reconnect with my sense of authority or bolster that. It's also about relationships with authority figures. So if there's some sort of conflict ongoing or misunderstanding with an authority figure, this is a good time to sit down with them, try to work it out. And just quickly, just something I had forgotten to say about the seventh house is that we always say partnership, but one of the like sub themes that I like to mention with seventh house is negotiations and mediations.
Oh.
So this is another really, yeah, that's an opportunity, retrogrades are there, are an opportunity to look at those again as well.
I like that. Yeah. Also, be careful gossiping at work, because it could boomerang around for you if this is in your 10th house or the third house for that matter.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I feel like especially with these Mercury ruled transits happening, gossip is like, I don't know, Leo likes gossip too. We're in gossip season.
Just be careful
And Leo,
about what
watch
you're
your big
saying.
mouth. That Leo.
Yeah. Yeah, and be extra diligent about reviewing your work before you get it out there. Yeah. Your
Yeah.
slides, like, don't be waiting till the last minute, because then you may have some hiccup with your computer or something, or your computer's flipping out, and yeah, you're
Gosh.
delayed. So
Yep.
yeah, the 11th house.
11th house. 11th house, networking, groups, teams, community, and long-term wishes, aspirations. So a good time to review those, to reconnect, as we were saying, with people from the past, perhaps old colleagues. A bright spot of Mercury retrograde, as we were saying, is about like reconnecting with people. You could actually reconnect with somebody who you used to work with, and they have a job opportunity for you, or you have a job opportunity for them. I've already had glimmers of that happening with like old coworkers who I feel like sorority sistered to,
Uh-huh.
popping up and saying like, what do you, can you assign me anything, to write or whatever. And I'm more than happy to, bring them into the fold. And, so that can be really lovely bright spots like that, especially if the 11th house is activated.
I like that. Yeah, it's a house of good fortune too. So yeah, yeah, it's a great time to think about re-updating your LinkedIn profile, if that's something you have, or any other like kind of social connection profiles.
Yeah, it's
Be
definitely
mindful when you're
social.
talking to your friends, like try not to be critical or what have
Yeah.
you. Maybe if you fell out of a group or something, you want to return or reconsider. Maybe you decide to leave a group you've been involved with that's no longer serving you or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And kind of put some friendships or friend groups
Yeah.
under a microscope a little bit
Hmm.
more and say, are they supporting my long-term wishes and aspirations?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a healthy dynamic. Yeah. How do I feel after I've been around this group of people? Could
Oh
be
yeah.
something comes up.
I have a friend, an old colleague, speaking of old colleagues, who's writing a book that I'm so excited to check out. She's been doing a lot of social media around it. It's about toxic female relationships. So not just
Ooh.
friendships, but also mother-daughter situations, sister situations, anything where, there's a toxic dynamic, and identifying that, working through that. She interviewed a bunch of women about their situations for the book.
Ooh.
So it just sounds really, really good and important.
Mm. I wonder when it's going to come
I got,
out. That's so.
I got to get that info so I can plug her. But the
Yeah.
author's name is
Yeah.
Erica Suter.
Okay. That sounds like a really interesting book. It would be perfect for the solar eclipse in Libra.
Libra. Yep. That's
That would be
right. October
good.
2nd, right?
Yes. Yeah, that would be a good time for about these one-on-one relationships, about Venusian relationships.
Yes.
And I think, is Venus in Scorpio at the eclipse? It might
I
be.
believe it is. Yeah, I
So,
know. I know the October astrology very well at
Uh,
this point from some personal research.
ah, yeah. So that would be, let me look. October, what's the October? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's in Scorpio. So, yeah, that's a great timing if that's when it is. Okay, what about the 12th house? Me and my tangents. I miss my
No,
mind.
I love it. I love it. That's Mercury retrograde. That's Mercury and the Gemini, the Virgo, and we're just jumping around. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
12th house, spirituality, I've been talking about it in terms of like your psychological well-being, dreaming, resting. Like I think it emphasizes the rest piece of Mercury retrograde if you're having a Mercury retrograde there. Um, and really like driving home the point of like slowing down, getting in tune with your intuition, your inner voice, and
Mm.
and how that can, because when you have something going on in the 12th house, soon thereafter it's going to be in the first.
Yes.
So I think of it as the way I like to envision the 12th house is that you're backstage and you're getting ready to go on and go under the spotlight. So what can you do to prepare yourself? Like, is it about rehearsing your lines? Is it about really centering yourself? Is it about meditating, etc.? That kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. A good thing to review is your sleep hygiene.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that could be a great time if you have this in the 12th to, okay, I'm not gonna, my phone's not gonna be in my bedroom. I'm not gonna be scrolling social media right before I'm going to bed. I'm gonna like review my everything around my sleep, maybe even get some new bed sheets or do something in your bedroom to make it a more, yeah, a more soothing place where you can wind down and let go. I feel like that could be really good
Yes,
for people with it
that's
in
good.
12. Yeah.
Maybe also reviewing your, like, if you are doing some self work, like if you
Yeah.
have a therapist, maybe thinking, like we're just looking at that. How far have we come? Where do we want to go from here? What more do
Mm-hmm.
I need to do in terms of self work? What are my goals there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Oh, my intrepid now's birthday is August 15th. Ah, so it's going to be really interesting for you this year. Mercury's going to be retrograde. So there's going to be just maybe there's a component of reviewing in the past. What do you say to people when they have Mercury retrograde in their solar return?
Yeah, I mean, it's a more internal year, right? It's a
Yeah.
more like we were talking about
Yeah.
having it being in your natal chart. If it's in your
Mhm.
solar return chart, that says self-reflection, going inward, um, reviewing whatever, whatever house, the themes of whatever house it's sitting retrograde in.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting birthday to not get interesting year to not let yourself get too frustrated because you're going to have this Mars Jupiter, although Mars will be separating from Jupiter, but they'll be conjunct, squaring Saturn
Mm.
in Pisces. So you've got this tension about how you want to grow
Yes.
and expand, and you maybe have some like really desires to go fast, but that Saturn is going to slow you down. So it's going to be contained growth is going to be a
Oh,
theme.
I love how you put
Yeah.
that. Plus, that's
Mm-hmm.
good. It's not that you're not going to grow. It's that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be more. It's going to be slower. It's
Yes.
going to be Saturnian.
Yes. And having a sense of humor about it, like is I think going to be important for you to get through this next year, like thriving through the next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Wow, this has been so much fun.
So
So
fun.
tell everybody about the event.
Oh, sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to be getting back together retrograde style, like revisiting one another for a Zoom event with Warwick's Books. And that is on August 20th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It is free. You can register online. Both Celeste and I have been sharing how you can do that. It's in the link in my bio if you want to sign up. And we're going to be in conversation with my mentor, April Elliott Kent of Big Sky Astrology. So it's going to be the three of us talking about all of these things and more, and the book. And Warwick's is amazing. I did an event with them last year for Raising Baby by the Stars, my first book. So I'm really excited to be back with them and be with Celeste and April in conversation. So I hope you can join us there. And then I'm also doing an in-person event in LA that just got announced yesterday. So if you happen to be in Los Angeles, you can join me at Chevalier's Books a week later, August 27th, on Mercury Direct Eve. And that's at 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to make sure we have refreshments, and there will probably be technical difficulties, but that's fine. It will be great. And so please come on down. Another one that's free, but it's important to register ahead of time so we know that you're coming.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And so tell people what's your website and anything else that you want to share?
Sure. MaressaBrown.com is my website. I actually have a tool on there where you can cast a free birth chart if you want to know where your Mercury is. I know a lot of people, aren't quite sure. I give you a couple pointers in the book about, how to figure it out even without your chart. But it is best to run your chart and take a look. Then you can find out, is it retrograde natally, what house it's in, what sign it's in, of course. And then you can use my book even more actively. Read that not only does the book go into how to thrive during Mercury retrograde, but I think it's really important. I like to emphasize that it's also about learning about your Mercury placement, the sign it's in, the house it's in, how that colors your communication strengths and challenges, so that you can be an even more effective communicator and feel even more confident in that part of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Marissa. It's been so much fun chatting with you, and I look forward to chatting on the Warwick's event
Absolutely.
and letting everybody know again. It's Mercury Magic, and I'll put a link to both of your books in the show notes, and I'll add you as a collaborator if you want to put it on your wall.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. That's so fun, and I can't wait to see you on the 20th.
Sounds great. You take care. Have a
Take care.
beautiful weekend,
You too.
everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.